Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Write Ambitions podcast, where I discuss word usage, grammar, writing, and editing. I'm your host, Jenny Watts, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. So today, I would like to talk to you about finding an editor for your book project. As I've discussed before, actually way back in episode 1, there are different types of editing, and there are different types of editors. So the first thing you need to do is get clear on the type of editing you're looking for. To recap, there's developmental editing, which is the most extensive type of editing. If you need help with plot, story structure, character development, then this is the type of editing you need. Next is line editing, followed by copy editing. To me, these two are closely related, but line editing deals more with style, and copy editing deals more with mechanics. So what do I mean by that? Line editing looks at word choice, pacing, and logical flow of the lines that make up your manuscript. Copy editing, on the other hand, looks at grammar and makes sure that your manuscript follows a prescribed style guide like Chicago, this behemoth here, or an in-house style guide, for example. And they'll often create their own style sheet for your manuscript to make sure that any exceptions to those rules are noted. And I talked about style sheets actually in episode 10, so if you haven't checked that episode out, please do so. Style sheets are great and can help writers actually save money on editing. So now that we've covered the types of editing, let's talk about how to go about finding an editor for your project. There are numerous places to look for an editor. Organizations including the Editorial Freelancers Association and the American Copy Editors Society list members on their websites. And you can search for them by state or by genre or by type of editing or whatever. There are also lots of Facebook groups for writers where you can possibly find an editor. Sometimes that can be kind of a rabbit hole, so just be careful with that. And then there's the good old Google. If you do a Google search, you may find an editor's individual website, like writeambitions.com, or you can land on sites like Reedsy or Fiverr. Just remember that not all editors are the same, and you get what you pay for. Please make sure to budget for an editor. Editing really is a crucial step in the process, whether you are self-publishing or going the traditional publishing route. You want to make sure that your manuscript is in the best shape no matter what. So editing is more than just dotting the I's and crossing the T's. It's a profession that people are trained in. So please budget for this step. Okay, rant over. Excuse me. The writer-editor relationship is a partnership. So it's imperative that these two people work together and are both open to discussion about the project. Let's face it, writing is subjective, and there are several ways to approach things. So being able to discuss any differences in opinion you may have on style or certain editing changes is really important. And when you find some editors that you'd like to approach about editing your manuscript, here are 10 things you should consider to make sure they're the right editor for you. 1. Sample edits. Many editors provide sample edits, and they're actually a great way for you to determine whether the editor's style will mesh with yours and will provide you with the editing you need. And it's also a great way for the editor to get a feel for your writing and assess whether the type of editing you're looking for is really what they can deliver. Sometimes a writer may think they only need copy editing, but they really need developmental editing. An editor can either discuss this with the writer and see if they're open to that, or choose to just provide the copy edit as instructed, or decline the project altogether. See, the relationship is already beginning. So you'll want to ask whether the sample edit is provided for free, or if there's a charge associated with it. A lot of editors do free sample edits, but a lot of editors don't. Also ask how many words the sample edit involves. Don't expect an editor to do a sample edit of 10,000 words, okay? That's just not going to happen. The usual number of words provided in a sample edit is around 1,000. And if you're asking for sample edits from a few different editors, make sure they edit the same passage for you. This will let you compare apples to apples. And for heaven's sake, don't think that you can send a different sample to a bunch of different editors, get all your editing for free, and then piece your manuscript together. This is what's known as a Franken edit, and believe me, your readers will be able to tell. It's also a reason why some editors charge for sample edits, that and the time that's involved with providing a sample. Excuse me. So that was number 1, sample edits. Number 2 is genre. Just a moment while I take a drink of water. All right, I'm back. So, genre. Does the editor work with your genre? If you're writing a nonfiction book on macroeconomics and the editor normally works with romance writers, this could be an issue. So, make sure the editor knows about the genre you're writing about. 3, types of editing. Like I said earlier, there are different types of editing, and not all editors perform all types of editing. So, some editors only do copy editing, and some editors only do developmental editing, and others do all of them, developmental, line, and copy editing. So make sure the editor does the type of editing that you're looking for. Number 4, rates. Editing rates will vary. Developmental editing is going to be the most expensive because it's the most in-depth type of editing. And copy editing will cost less because, well, it's not as in-depth. And editors can charge by the word, by the page, by the hour, by the project. I'm not going to lie, it can be expensive. So you need to make sure that you budget for this and get a quote from the editor. Once you agree on a price, I would recommend getting a contract. Most editors have contracts, and this protects both you and them. Number 5, payment schedule. Yet another important piece that can be covered in a contract. So determine what the payment expectations are. Does the editor require a down payment? Do they require half up front? Know what the payment schedule is so you can budget accordingly. 6, payment type. What type of payment do they accept? Do they accept credit cards, check, PayPal, Venmo, something else? You need to know what type of payment they accept so you know whether you'll be able to provide that. 7 is the scope of work and the timeline. This is another reason for a contract. Understand the scope of work. Does the editor provide one round of editing, or do they do a second pass after you've reviewed their initial edits? What is the timeline for delivering your edits? If you want your edits done by Christmas and the editor is booked through March, that's not going to work. So make sure that you understand what is involved and what the timeline for delivery is. 8, the method of editing and delivery. What do I mean by that? Well, what program does the editor use to edit? Do they use Microsoft Word? Do they use Google Docs? Do they use Adobe? Do they use InDesign? Do they use something else? Make sure you know how the editor will deliver your edits and that you understand the features of that editing program. Now, personally, I prefer to edit in Microsoft Word using track changes. My authors, therefore, need to know how to review my edits in track changes and accept or reject them. 9, testimonials. Does the editor have any client testimonials they can provide or any references you can contact about their work? If so, check them out and do your due diligence. Number 10 is qualifications. Now, anyone can call themselves anything, right? I can say I'm an accountant, but am I qualified? No, not even close. This can be a little tricky because there aren't a lot of specific degrees or certifications in editing. But qualifications can be determined by other work the editor has done, reviews, feedback they provide on social media sites, blog posts or articles they've written on the topic, social media posts that highlight their expertise, etc. If they have a website, do they list other projects that they've worked on? Does it seem like they have a command of the English language based on the information they provide on their website or on their social media sites? If their website is riddled with typos, maybe they're not the editor for you. So there you have it. Ask potential editors about sample edits, the genres they work in, the type of editing they do, their rates, payment schedules, and types of payment they accept, what the scope of work and the timeline for delivery is, if they have any references or testimonials, and what program they use to edit. It may seem like a lot, but all of those items are important to understand when you hire an editor to get your manuscript in shape. So that's all for now. Thank you for tuning in. Before you leave, though, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.